From Eyewitness News, this is Newsmakers.
After more than 4 decades at McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket, the PawSox may be on the move. The AAA baseball team's new owners, including Providence attorney James Skeffington and Red Sox president Larry Lucchino, are eyeing a parcel of land freed up by the relocation of I-195 for a state-of-the-art facility. But a baseball stadium was never part of the vision for the prime Providence real estate. Will downtown hear the crack of a bat, and at what cost to the state? This week on Newsmakers, our guest, new PawSox co-owner James Skeffington.
Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. Joining me on the panel, as always, WPRI.com reporter Ted Nesi. Jim, welcome to the program. It's really good to have you on.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
You know, after decades of being involved in just about everything in Rhode Island, you are finally now a household name. Do you realize that? After buying the PawSox. So it struck me watching your press conference. You said if the stadium isn't built in Providence, Plan B would be to cry. But what does that mean, in all seriousness, to Pawtucket? Is there any scenario in which the team stays in Pawtucket, or has that ship sailed?
Well, I think, as I tried to say the other day at the news conference, we want to move the team because we think it's, in the long run, best for the team, best for the Red Sox, and in my opinion, best for the city and the state of Rhode Island. There are just too many great attributes that Providence has, infrastructure attributes, that we need to go to the next level. And we think this is the right place for us, and the opportunity to bring more people to the park to see the games, that's our object, obviously. And when they can come by rail from Boston to, I guess from the airport to Boston on MBTA, on the Amtrak, to have all the buses that come into the city of Providence from all our cities and towns will be stopping essentially right at the front door of that site, to have thousands of people living within a 10-minute walk of the park, those people will come to the ball game and see our program.
Even you have said that, look, a lot has to happen before we can build a stadium in Providence. So again, if that doesn't happen, I mean, it sure does sound like the door is closed on Pawtucket. So let me ask you this. Are you considering any other locations in Providence? Have you talked to anybody outside of Providence or even Rhode Island about a location?
Well, there's a lot of questions in that, but I would tell you that we have looked at other sites before we came upon this site. We did some due diligence on various sites that might be available. Our program is to build an urban ballpark strategically located near public transportation, visible from the highways, easy to get to, accessible from businesses and from residences. So this site has all those characteristics.
And we have that site on the screen right now. This is the land that was freed up by the relocation of I-195.
This is only a potential site. We haven't been able to complete our due diligence on it because we didn't own the team, and it wouldn't be appropriate for us to conduct due diligence on it while owning it. But now that we own it, and now we can complete our due diligence, and you know, have we considered other sites? Yes, we have. There is no Plan B. We're laser focused on this particular site and see if it's a site on which we could build an exciting ballpark. It has all the attributes that we think are important, and we think that'll help not only our team but the Providence and the state of Rhode Island.
Paint a picture for people. What do you see as the biggest differences? Is it just about location, or what would be the biggest differences between the new stadium and what is at McCoy Stadium right now? Obviously, it would be in Providence, which is very different to begin with, but the actual stadium, the baseball experience, what do you think would be so different in this new place?
Well, clearly location is the big factor because it has so many more infrastructure accommodations for a ballpark. But let me tell you, and I mentioned this to the mayor when I met him on Sunday evening before we announced.
Mayor Grabbian of Pawtucket?
Yes, the mayor of Pawtucket. I wanted to tell him how much we appreciated this will be our 46th year in Pawtucket. We'll be playing there at least 2 years, if not more. So I wanted to let him know that we have great appreciation and affection for our hometown. We were essentially born as a franchise, AAA, in Pawtucket, and we're not going to forget that. And we're going to do everything we can to help. In fact, I promised the mayor that I know that Ben Mondor made several contributions over the years and to charities in Pawtucket. And I'm going to continue. I committed I'd continue those contributions. So we may not be there physically, but we're going to be there in spirit. and we're going to do that. And I told them that when there are some kids in town who want to go to a ball game, we're going to make arrangements to have them to be our guests. Whether they come from Central Falls or Pawtucket, that area that would come to the games, I want them to come to a new ballpark and see our players and enjoy the benefit of watching baseball in Providence. So,
will anything change at McCoy in the years left that the PawSox will be there?
No, I think we'll have the same enthusiasm for McCoy as we have now. McCoy has a lot of great attributes to it. It's a 70-year-old stadium. It's the oldest stadium in the International League. So obviously there are new stadiums that have many more amenities, fan amenities, team amenities, players amenities. So we'll be obviously looking to incorporate those. We're going to go around with our architects to visit a number of different new minor league ballparks and find out what's working there, what's exciting, what the fans are happy about. And we're going to try to incorporate them in our plan. But Pawtucket is a great venue for baseball, and the field's terrific, and we appreciate the opportunity to play there the next 2 years, and we hope to have fun there.
Where our guest this week is Jim Skeffington. He is the new co-owner of the Pawtucket Red Sox. Jim, when did you first talk to Governor Gina Raimondo about this?
Well, I talked to the governor after she was elected. We had been negotiating for some time.
That's a long window. So could you narrow that? Did you talk to her in the fall?
No, after the election. This would be sometime after she was governor-elect.
December?
I think it was early December, yes. I think it was early December.
Okay, and what did you say to her? What did she say to you?
I just wanted to give her a heads up that we hadn't bought the team yet. We were in the final stages of our negotiations,
right.
Final stages of our due diligence. And I wanted to let her know that we're interested in doing that. We were very close. I was optimistic we'd complete the purchase, but I didn't have it completed at that time. And I wanted to let her know that if we were successful, our vision was we wanted to build an urban ballpark. We wanted to build a downtown ballpark. And it could be in any city, but we like Providence. We're Rhode Islanders. I'm a Rhode Islander. I have a great affection for the state. And I'd like to see it happen in Rhode Island and happen in Providence. But so I just wanted to give her a heads up. And it was, by the way, the conversation didn't last 10 minutes. And she was excited about it, and she obviously, is upset. As in some extent, we all are saddened by the fact that we have to leave Pawtucket. We're not happy about that because we love Pawtucket. It's, as I said, it's our home. But she said, "Look, I don't want to lose. I don't want to be the governor that lost the Pawtucket Red Sox to some other state." And she said, I love Charlie Baker, but I don't want to give him the Pawtucket Red Sox. And by the way, I said to her, and I don't want to be the owner to take the Pawtucket Red Sox out of Rhode Island either, because I'm a Rhode Island citizen, and I have great affection for the state here. I owe a lot to the state of Rhode Island. So we had a very pleasant exchange. It didn't last more than 10 minutes, and she wished me luck in completing the negotiations and concluding a sale. And we didn't conclude the sale until a week ago.
You've been close to Larry Lucchino, Boston Red Sox CEO, for years. You've been the Red Sox, one of their top lawyers for, I think, about 14 years now. So I'm curious, how did this ownership group come together? Did you approach the other 9? Did you go to Larry Lucchino and say, look, what are we going to do? Ben Mondor has passed away. Did they come to you? Sort of, how did this deal come together?
Well, some of that is attorney-client privilege, but I will say to you that the Red Sox...
we won't tell.
This is just between you
and me, absolutely, just the three
and
of
a million people.
Exactly.
I wish our ratings were that high.
But in any event, I got a big family, by the way. So but in any event, we started the negotiations. I started negotiations on behalf of the Red Sox, but it took a long time. I mean, Ben had passed away. It was a traumatic event for Mrs. Mondor. She and her husband were that team for 38 years. And it was very painful for her to even consider selling it. I mean, she told me once it was like an amputation of a limb to sell this team, because she had great affection for the team, the franchise, the city, the people who work there. So in any event, as negotiations progressed, and it took a couple of years actually, I think, we finally, the Red Sox decided that they wanted to use their resources in other areas. They have other commitments, and they said, we like the idea of having it in super-friendly hands, hyper-friendly hands, but we don't want to put all our resources into that because we have to get players on board, and we have our soccer franchises, and they have other capital needs. So then we came up with the idea, maybe we could put together a group and buy it, and they were amenable to that, and so I put together a group to buy it.
I want to bring up a quote for you, Jim, if I could. State Senator James Sheehan issued a statement this week where he was less than enthusiastic about the stadium in Providence. And he said, here's the quote, "If at the heart of that property we locate a land-intensive baseball stadium, we may generate a number of mainly low-paying jobs, but in the process, we will sell short the potential for greater economic prosperity." What do you say to Senator Sheehan and, frankly, other people who feel the same way?
Sure. Well, the senator, I appreciate his sentiments, but I obviously disagree. The land that we're talking about was never intended to be the land to produce the high-paying jobs. The land, for the most part, that we're talking about, under the master plan for the 195 Commission, was open space.
Yeah, but correct me if I'm wrong, they'll have to make open space if you put a baseball park there.
Well, our intention is that they can coexist. They're just not going to be the whole park.
So we would fill that federal requirement by putting a baseball park there? They wouldn't have to do parkland elsewhere along those parcels?
No, we always welcome parks, but as a practical matter, we envision a waterfront walking park from Clifford Street to Point Street and down by the power plant restoration. So we would think there'd be opportunity to have a park there. We're going to put a large berm out in left field that'll accommodate families and that could be open for other people's use and recreation when we're not playing games. So we think there'll be a park-like setting there, and we think it's a better use of that land. If you think about it, under the master plan, they wanted to have passive recreation, no jobs, no revenue. We're bringing in a active recreation with hundreds of jobs, particularly in the baseball season, for example, and producing revenue and bringing 10,000 people hopefully a game. But by the way, this isn't just a baseball park. We're talking about more than a baseball park. This is more than just a simple baseball park. We want to have this as a multi-purpose venue, and we want to bring other things in there like concerts, music and cultural concerts. I'd like to see college sports played there. I'd love to see lacrosse and football and soccer played there on a collegiate level. We have some great collegiate sports programs here. Bryant University and Brown are great schools for football and for lacrosse. I'd like to see a lacrosse tournament there, and I'd like to see. We always have wanted to make this the best possible venue for baseball, but we also want to make it a venue that will contribute to the community. So have a community aspect to it. And so I think that there's a lot more than just a ballpark here.
We have to go to a break soon, but before we do, back to Senator Sheehan's point.
Please,
I heard you say that you said a ballpark could be a magnet to Biomed jobs.
Yes.
I don't understand how that would work.
Well, in fact, getting back to the senator's statement, he said this isn't the land, this isn't the highest best use of that land, this is not what we thought we were going to get when we enacted that legislation. Well, the fact is, the high-paying jobs he's referring to are jobs were planned across the street from this, not from the site we're on. I think a ballpark there will be a much greater incentive to develop the land next door across the street for those kind of high-paying jobs, those biomed type jobs, the life science parks, because those kind of companies that come there want to have an active environment that attracts young people that are excited about going to ball games and concerts and college sports. So I think it'll be much more attractive for them, and therefore they'll say, well, that's a great place to locate a business. So I think it'll be an incentive. I think it'll be a catalyst. It'll be.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Tim White. To my right, WPRI.com reporter Ted Nesi. Our guest this week is new co-owner of the PawSox, James Skeffington. Ted?
So we have to talk about money, Jim, when it comes to this project. You've talked about the stadium being privately financed. I was looking at the structure of the deal you put together in Florida for the Sox spring training facility. You were the lawyer for them down there. And in that case, the county, the public body, floated the bonds to fund the project. Is that what you're looking at for the project here in Providence?
No, not. We have, by the way, there's numerous ways you can accommodate financing for a stadium or a ballpark. So we'll have to explore those ways with government leaders if they share the same vision and excitement as we have for this project. But no, it'd be more probably like we're doing at McCoy now, which is a lease arrangement, where we would use our own money, take the risk, construct it, and then when we finish it, this is one option, only of 3 or 4 probably, and we could lease it to the state, and they could sublease it back. And then we would pay a rent, and then
Why would you do that if you're gonna spend your own money or a bunch of money
Well,
to
because
build it? Why would you
we have to
lease
build
it
them-
and rent it back?
Well, we have to have a mechanism by which we can have access to the stadium, obviously, because in most other jurisdictions, the government ends up going out and floating bonds and building a stadium and then leasing it at a very low cost to the team. And we're trying to be helpful here. So rather than have you float bonds in Rhode Island, we'll finance it. And you won't have any bonds to float. You won't have that using your debt capacity on this facility. So we're saving you the debt capacity, and at the same time, we'll still have the opportunity to work a financial arrangement that makes some sense.
But there would be
for
debt.
both of us.
There would be debt capacity because there already is a bond for that land. $38 million bond was floated to get that land.
The
Correct?
195
The
land.
The 195 land.
That's what I'm
Yes,
saying, and that's
yeah.
where you want to build it.
Well, I don't know whether the bond proceeds from that bond went to buy this particular land or not, and I know there's mechanisms to pay it back of the sale of the land, for example, to other industries as they come in. So those bonds presumably will be paid back from the revenues generated by the sale of lots across the street for other, hopefully, biomed uses or other productive uses. So that's the revenue stream that they were looking for. I don't know the details of that particular program and what they have used those bond proceeds for, but from our point of view, we wanted to finance ourselves. We'll take the risk. We'll construct it. There's a lot of risk in constructing these ballparks. Take the risk constructing it, finish it, and then lease it to the state. This is one option. Again, there are others we can do, and then we'll sublease it back, and then we'll have a beautiful ballpark, a model AAA ballpark with all the new
People at
amenities.
home aren't as familiar with public finance as you are, Jim, at this point in your career. What is they would say, well, you already own it. Why do you need to lease it and sublease it
Right.
back? Just own it and have the state give you some money or something like that if you say you need it. What's the reason for that mechanism?
Well, I think that's not the only mechanism, but that's one.
Why would that one be at all worth doing?
It's helpful because it provides a security for the financing. We would have our property, and then we'd also have a state lease for securing our debt. So that's really a security mechanism for the debt that we would have to incur.
So would that need to be in place before you could go out to get the financing for the stadium and build everything? You'd need to have
It's
that.
contemporaneous. You know, contemporaneous. When we, if we went down that path, one of several paths we could go down, that's one of those. But in terms of financing, we don't know what the cost is going to be yet. We haven't finished the due diligence for the property. We don't even know for sure whether this property can accommodate a ballpark. Our preliminary due diligence suggests that it could. It's a very, very tight site. In fact, that's going to make it exciting because right field will be short and home runs will go in the Providence River. That's kind of a fun thing to see. It'd be like San Francisco.
Yeah.
So we have much more due diligence to do, but we'll complete that in the next 2 or 3 weeks or so. And when we complete that, then we'll know whether or not this ballpark works. And then we have to talk up to the landowners. Brown University owns some of the land, and the state owns some of the land. So we have to talk to them and see if we can reach common ground with them on a acquisition of title or possession. So there's a lot more to do.
You suggested it. Sorry, Tim. As you move forward, you're thinking it's a $60 million to $70 million project. Is that, I know now you're saying you don't know about details. Is that in the ballpark? Not to make a
See
pun.
what he did there.
That was very clever.
Thank you. Hit a home run with that.
Oh God.
Well, I don't want to strike out.
Please stop.
Let me say, I'm just citing what the cost of current ballparks are. There are a number of new ballparks that have been built for AAA teams over the past 10 years. And the current pricing of those ballparks, as we understand it, is between 60 and 70 million. Some have gone as high as 80, some have gone down to 55, but we think that, the median prices are probably between 60 and 70 for the kind of facility that we want, the size that we want. We don't want to build a very large ballpark. We want to build a ballpark about the same size as Pawtucket, because we like to see our ballpark filled for our games. And we don't need a huge ballpark. Our guess is it's between 60 and 70 million, but again, we have not even, we don't even understand what the soil conditions are there. Are there going to be any special foundations we have to put in there? So it's premature yet to talk about costs and how to pay for it.
Will the new stadium pay property taxes to the city of Providence?
Well, it depends on discussions with the city. I mean, look, we have a lot of options to where to go, and I'm not looking for other people to come in and make offers to us. I'm approaching the state saying, look, let's try to do something together without talking to anybody else. Can we do something together to make something happen? And I think this ballpark is a game changer for the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island. And I'm getting actually very positive feedback from the mayor of Providence and from the governor and from the General Assembly leaders. I know the Speaker and the Senate President have expressed their interest in this. So, and Brown University has expressed their interest in it as well. They're a major investor in that area. So we have a lot of people to talk to. We have a lot more to do. This is the very early stages, the early innings of a ball game.
One concern people have on that site, or at least question we've heard a lot this week, is about parking.
Sure.
How important is it that the proposed Garrahy Courthouse parking garage gets built and or they expand the size of the one at the new South Street Power Station? Are those core to your plans if
Yes,
the
they
stadium
are.
goes here? How so?
Well, we need parking, obviously. If we're going to have 10,000 people at a ball game, we need parking. Generally speaking, minor league baseball likes to see about 30% number of parking spaces to your capacity. That's about 3,000 spaces. So that Garrahy Complex garage is very important to us. That's like 1,200 cars. Mm-hmm. And the garage next door at the South Street Station, originally it was going to be like 500 cars. I've met with Dick Galvin, the developer there, and I said, why don't we go together and why don't we share that garage? We'll do 50% of it with you. We'll co-own it, and let's expand it to 750 cars. And because we need the parking. And the beauty of that is he needs the parking during the day for the nursing school and the Brown University administration for the power station. And we need it at night for ball games and weekends. So it's a good marriage. And we want to keep the price of parking very low. Because
it's free right
Ben
now.
Mondor was a bold innovator back in when he started the Pawtucket Red Sox of Pawtucket. And he combined low ticket prices for families and free or low cost parking. There is some cost parking out there. I want to do the same thing now. We want to keep the prices low. I want it to be family friendly, wholesome entertainment, so people can take the working men and women can take their children to the game and enjoy it and not have to spend anywhere near what they spend at a major league ballpark. And if they have to park their car, they can park it at I'm hoping like $2 or $3 to park your car for a ballpark. We can do that if we have ownership of the garage. That's what we're trying to do.
That said, Jim, I mean, you, Terry Murray, former Fleet CEO, Tom Ryan, former CVS CEO, your partners in this, they didn't get where they are by being charitable institutions. You know, they're tough-nosed businessmen. There's a financial upside for you and the co-owners on this too if this project succeeds, right?
Well, let me say to my partners, we all have been blessed. Many of us in Rhode Island. Not all our partners are from Rhode Island. About half of them are from the Boston area. But we are. We're committed to trying to help the state and make a contribution, to give back, which is very important. And all those people you just cited have given back a lot to the community. They're very charitable. And I just promised them that I think this is a good investment for the community. I don't want to lose money, my money or theirs. I do have an obligation to them to make sure I'm prudent, and Larry and I should say, make sure we're prudent as we manage this project. So we want to make sure that they don't lose money. But none of us are in it to make, we're not in it to drive a hard bargain and to get a real economic benefits. We're trying to do something that will help our state and be exciting for us and not lose any money, and hopefully we'll make some money sometime. We have a valuable asset there.
You've talked a lot about people being able to take the train in to go see a baseball game, but that train the train station is not within walking distance, I would say. We're talking about the train station over Amtrak, right, up by the State House.
Yeah.
You think that's walking distance to the ballpark?
It's a 10-minute walk.
Okay.
And by the way, there's going to be buses going from that train station to the one downtown.
That's what I figured you meant.
Yeah.
Is there any talk of this might reinvigorate the discussion on streetcars in Providence? Or was that proposal?
That's another possibility. We like that streetcar concept. That would be a big boost to the streetcar.
Not paid for by the new ownership group, though, I assume.
We can only pay so much. But I will tell you one thing. It's not a long walk. And by the way, I envision, if you will, a warm evening or a warm Saturday afternoon and people strolling about the city before the game, going to restaurants, bars, shopping in the mall and other stores, walking from the train station to the ballpark. It is not very far,
You said you haven't talked to Larry Lucchino about it, but you like the name the Rhode Island Red Sox. So you said that at a press conference earlier this week.
Yeah.
Did he call you after that news conference and say, "Hey, whoa, slow down, Jim"?
We talk almost daily.
Okay.
And he did mention rather jokingly. He said, "I see we have a new name for the team." I said, "No, we don't yet until we both agree on it." Right. But we've agreed to do everything in a unanimous fashion, so the two of us will vote on it. I'll have to convince him of the merit of that, but I think I think I'll do that. I'm optimistic on that.
As a businessman, about a minute left here. Do you have concerns?
The reason I say that is this ballpark isn't for city. it's for the state. You know, we're all Rhode Islanders, and this will be helpful for the state. So when you're living in Westerly, you don't want to be saying, "Oh, I'll go to see the Providence Red Sox." You want to see our Rhode Island Red Sox. That's my view of it.
Now you get only 30 seconds for this answer. Do you have concerns about the declining interest in baseball right now as a businessman? You're about to make a major investment here, or you have?
No, I just made
a major investment. Yes.
I'm glad you're telling me that now. Well, I would say to you that yeah, we're a little bit concerned, but baseball is doing what it can to speed up the game, make it more interesting for young people. There's going to be this year the pitch clock that's going to be introduced in AAA, so we'll have that in Pawtucket. By the way, wasn't it nice of my partners to invest $60 million in a new Cuban 19-year-old superstar who'll be playing in Pawtucket this year? Right. Now that's a partner. We'll do that for you.
All right. Well, Jim Skeffington, thank you very much for joining us on the program. We have a lot of coverage online, WPRI.com. You can catch it there. For Ted Nesi, I'm Tim White. We will see you next week on Newsmakers.